Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and I'm back with some more light tank gameplay, top tier this time in the T-54 lightweight. Light tanks are so exciting right now, especially the top tier ones. A lot of people are playing them because obviously the tier 9 and tier 10 light tanks will be coming, and so a lot of people are trying to prepare to get a lot of experience in their top tier lights to be able to then unlock the new ones quickly when they come. And the reason for that is they're getting sooner every minute. Well, of course they're getting sooner every minute. Everything's getting sooner that's in the future when every minute passes by. But what I'm trying to say is that they were recently shown on the Sandbox test server, and you can still play them if you're a Sandbox tester. I live streamed them. I had a lot of fun playing all of the tier 10s. They look like they're, you know, statistically they're pretty balanced, and it looks like they could go into the game tomorrow if Wargaming were to want to put them into the game tomorrow. But I'm sure they're going to polish them, and we'll probably be seeing them, possibly in my best estimate is going to be a couple of months from now. Something like that, I estimate. 2-3 months, something like that, is when we'll probably see the high tier light tanks going in the game. So you've got a while. You've got a while. Each one of them on the Sandbox test server costs roughly about 200,000 credits to unlock from tier 9 to tier 10. So you want to get saving up in your tier 8s and uncheck that accelerated crew training. So today I'm going to be focusing on the T-54 lightweight, a vehicle that I don't think I've featured since I previewed it when it went into the game. Was it back in patch 9.3? Something's telling me it was 9.3 when we saw this vehicle go into the game, but I could be wrong there. Either way, what is the T-54 lightweight and why is it good? Well, the gun on it is certainly not great. It's got an old school tier 8 Soviet medium tank gun that you would see on the T-44. It doesn't have a great rate of fire, 7.5 rounds a minute, for its 250 alpha damage. The DPM of this tank suffers compared to the WZ-132 and the RU-254 Speerpanzer, which are its tier 8 light tank non-autoloader rivals. Also, the other statistics of the tank are not as good as its rivals as well. I'd say its mobility is just probably a little bit less, its accuracy is a little less, aim time sometimes is a little bit worse with its gun handling. Its view range as well is 390 rather than 400, which means that you certainly can't drop coated optics on this vehicle and put vents on instead to go along with your rammer and your vertical stabilizers. But then again, I think really if you're ever going to put coated optics on any tank, you'd want to put them on your light tanks, right, which are meant to be scouts. But as we can see here, the T-54 lightweight has decent armor. The enemies are either deciding that they don't want to shoot at a high-tier Soviet vehicle with some rather nice turret armor, or maybe they're just not managing to spot me through the bushes. And I guess that's one of the key strengths of the T-54 lightweight, is really it's a lot like a T-44, but it gets worse matchmaking, but certainly doesn't get much worse matchmaking in this game. This is one of the best matchmaking results that I have ever seen for a tier 8 light tank. And so that means that the penetration on this tank, which again is lower than the RU-251 and lower than the WZ-132 at 175, is not too bad. Now the vehicle doesn't really carry much ammunition, 34 rounds, 250, that really doesn't allow it to pull off any crazy high damage games, especially if it fires at mid to long ranges like I am with its .38 accuracy and bounces a lot of its shells with its awful 175mm of penetration. With premium rounds, it's still 235. Now that certainly isn't great, and the reason why I do take a good old slug of premium rounds in this tank is when you do get into those tier 10 matchups. What else are you going to do against vehicles? Even against some tier 9 tanks such as the E-75, you certainly are going to struggle. But seeing that the northern flank has held on the enemy team and the west is now pushing in, I want to try and avoid a pincer maneuver. That's why I gave up sniping at the enemy tanks towards the north, and I wanted to make sure that the enemies didn't manage to breach through the west. One of the worst things that you can let happen in World of Tanks is if you're getting attacked by both sides, and that certainly was going to be the case here. By pulling back, well, leaving the flank that I was on and going assisting the west, now I can start to get hulled down. And this is where the tank is strong, and this is what you really sacrifice all of those other statistics to be able to get in the T-54 lightweight, and that is 80mm of well-angled upper hull armor that when you not over-angle the tank, but angle it enough to still keep your side armor strong, then you do have about 150mm of effective armor on the front of this vehicle, the upper plate, and the lower plate is quite good as well. And one of the best things about this tank is it doesn't get overmatched when they shoot your tracks. The UDES there Doesn't quite give enough lead. He hits the side of my vehicle. It doesn't damage my tank, only taking my tracks off. Same with the Tiger P. And it's the 60mm of side armor on this tank that I think only 1 or 2 guns in the game that are not artillery firing AP rounds can overmatch. Obviously the FV215B183. And so that means that you can just take punishment in this vehicle. Quite often you want to drive the tank pretty much along like this and hope that they shoot at your side armor. And if they do that, then you're going to be in a great situation. Now I love this play. Knowledge of the terrain allows me to just go hold down against the TVP, and the turret armor on this tank is also great. It's 160 at the front, but because of the shape of the turret, its effective armor is actually about 200mm. So against tanks like this, I am perfectly happy to sit, hold down. They've probably got a 50-50 or less chance of going through my turret, and that's if they hit some of the weaker areas, of course, as long as they miss the cupolas on top of the tank, which are a weak point. Then I'm certainly not going to fail to penetrate his hull armor. Now I flank round the Tiger, I put 1 round into him. I want to use the Tiger to avoid a shell from the TVP. I was going to focus the TVP down, but the Leo finishes off the TVP on my team, and I get to put a shot into the side of the Tiger. Wow, what a run this was on Ensk. Certainly a fantastic matchup for this vehicle, and we are starting to run a riot here. And it's down to the fact that it's your confidence in the armor. If I'd been driving around with the RU251 or the WZ132, I certainly wouldn't have been able to do this. Now we're going to go around and see if we can get that pesky UDES that tried to shoot the side of my tank. And again, I'll highlight that if that had been in the RU251 or the WZ132, that 105mm gun on the UDES, that tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer, would have certainly overmatched the vehicle and not only taken my track off, but also damaged my tank completely. So I don't want to waste my APCR rounds, so now I'm loading a high explosive round. The Swedish armor is ridiculously thin. I crash into the train there, but look at that, 351 into the back of the UDES. I'm loading a high explosive round, but you see I actually change. I stop loading the high explosive round and I load my APCR round. And that's because I want to ram the UDES. I don't really want to waste any more of my ammunition because I thought I might need it all to be able to kill the IS-3. So now loading those armor-piercing rounds again. We're going to go after this IS-3 here. 4 kills, 4,600 damage. What a run for any light tank, even a top-tier one such as this. But of course the matchup has certainly helped us. So we put 1 round into the back of his tank. We critically hit him, but we didn't take his tracks off. Somebody else has tracked that tank. Now we're going to shoot the other track off, but the track doesn't actually come off. Now, knowing his reload, I get the side of his tank and we just do the light tank dance and finish off that IS-3. Great result on Ensk here for the T-54 lightweight. But I'd like to stress the kind of matchmaking that you just saw was absolutely phenomenal. This vehicle really gets matched up like a tier 9 medium tank, and the fact that there weren't any tier 9 tanks on the enemy team was just utterly incredible. The matchup that you see me now is much more balanced. This is still a great matchup for the T-54 lightweight, but hopefully I want to give you a full idea of what the vehicle is capable of with regards to its armor and also playing it aggressively. I love to play my light tanks aggressively. Sometimes it works out. It's got to be more of a calm, calculated aggression. Oh, look at this AMX 1390. Oh, in the side. Wow, 730 damage dealt to him there with a single shot and a ram. Looks like he ricochets off us once. We get to finish him off. What a result there for the T-54 lightweight. That tier 8 French light tank. I bet you he wished that he weighed as much as I do. How much does this tank weigh exactly? This tank weighs... Its total weight is just over 30 tons. You know what? I thought it was a little bit more heavy than that. But that's certainly a hell of a lot heavier than the AMX 1390. And the amount of momentum that we had going into him there, that was a spectacular finishing off of our equal number at the start of this game. Now, when I play on Karelia Assault, I just absolutely do everything that I can. If I'm in a tank that can go about 40-45 kilometers an hour, I'm always going to try and go into this D4 area here. This really is my number one tip if you are playing in your light tanks and even your medium tanks that again can go about 45-50 kilometers an hour to make your way over into this location. Because from here, what's happening is you're spotting all of the tanks in this location, and that allows vehicles that are usually camping up here, although we don't have many tank destroyers, well, no tank destroyers on our team, giving me fire support to be able to open fire on the enemy team, and it can just rack up your spotting damage. I've had so many... I probably completed the LT-15 light tank mission multiple times on Karelia Assault from this one position without even having to change. It truly is just absolutely kind of overpowered at the moment, but I think it's also a balancing mechanic to give you a better chance to be able to win Karelia Assault. Your light tanks do play aggressively. Theirs will try and push over to one side, and obviously the light tanks and the mediums on the attacking team want to try and push over as well. We're locking down this CDC here. Unfortunately, we're unable to penetrate the first shell on the CDC, but we do end up putting in the second and third, I believe, there. Or did I hit my first and miss the second? Didn't quite catch that. Now I'm trying to see if I can get some shots into the side of that tier 8 Swedish heavy tank, the Emil. Unable to do so, I'm going to go back up into my position and see what we can pick up. So already we're up to 1,700 damage, 1,000 spotting. We're just under 3 minutes into the game. And I'd also like to highlight that 560 damage that we have ricocheted. That simply wouldn't have happened in the RU-251. And that KV-13 on the enemy team, certainly one of the nicest tanks you're ever going to meet in your tier 8 lights. Perfect matchmaking to be fighting against tier 7s. But he just can't penetrate me. He just doesn't have the penetration to reliably go through my armor with the 85mm gun that he will be using. And I'm even quite confident against this T-55A. Now the T-55A, if he's firing standard rounds, is going to have about 200mm of penetration, right? The KV-13 ricochets off me. The T-55A unable to go through my armor, and he misses one shell there trying to find my... Wow, that actually went right through the upper part and then bounced off the upper plate there. I'm going to snipe one into the cupola of the T-55A, but I failed to penetrate him, and he finally manages to put a shell in. Where did that one go in? Oh yeah, right into the cupola on the top. That certainly is a point that you don't want to get hit in. But luckily now, he's got a tank behind him. The RU-251 is pushing him out of position, and hopefully as he crests this ridge, I'll get a nice shot into his side. Great result there. 3 rounds into the tier 9 reward. Medium tank, and hopefully that's not the only tier 9 medium tank we're going to shoot. There you go, one more into the Skoda. Nice roll there for 276. From this position, you know you just break the northern flank, and from this position you can also break the southern flank if anybody is still camping. And so that's why the center is just so strong. What you do is you go there, you spot out, you try and break one of the flanks of the enemy team, and then once you've dominated the center, your other flank that you've hopefully won will push in, and then you just can get so many easy shots into the side of the enemy team on the other flank. Will we penetrate the T-34 with our last remaining armor-piercing round? Yes, we will. Now we're going to try and go after this WT Alpha Panzer IV on the enemy team. There's also a WZ-132 that we're going to have to fight out. Now this is a very interesting fight here. Now, I've got 596 hit points, and I'm going after a WZ-132, and I feel pretty darn confident. I'm going to fire one APCR round, but unfortunately misses. Now I load high explosive. Now this is very interesting. He shoots me once, down to 347, and I ram him. Now I do 200 damage to him, but he does 135 to me. And so that means that now he has the alpha damage to be able to finish me off with the remaining shot. So do you know what? Sometimes it actually isn't the right idea to be ramming vehicles in those kind of situations, because I reduced my hit points to a point where he was able to one-shot me rather than the 2 shots that he would have had to be able to finish off my vehicle. Now, of course, when I rammed him there, I did do double the damage to him that I received in return with the collision. But if I hadn't, I would probably still be sitting on about 70 remaining hit points and have had the opportunity to finish him off with my final shot. So let's take a look at the results of both of these rounds. So a high caliber in the first one on Ensk, 5,300 damage and 5 kills. That is 1,784 base experience points. That'll certainly help going towards the T-100, the tier 10 Soviet light tank that's coming up, and I should really do a preview of all the tier 10 light tanks for you guys. In addition to our damage, we also did 1,869 damage upon detecting, but remember, we nearly ran out of ammunition in this game because of, I guess, a lot of the misses at the start when we were trying to engage at mid to long ranges. And so running out of AP meant that we only made 16,000 credits profit, with all of those pretty much wasted APCR rounds. Next up on Karelia, wow, this is my second mark of excellence in the T-54 lightweight. We also get a high caliber, unsurprisingly an ace tanker here, and that's for 1,431 base experience points. And look how the RU-251 did in that position as well. I only just pipped him. Can you believe that 2 tanks both had monster games on Karelia Assault, further showcasing just how powerful that D4 location is. He even pipped me on damage, but I got 1 more kill than him. And that actually confuses me. How come I got the high caliber medal and he didn't if he pipped me on damage? Ah, he did some TK damage. So no high caliber for him, because I guess he must have bumped into somebody. Oh, I certainly hope it wasn't me he bumped into. Did I bump into him and steal his high caliber? And one thing I'd like to highlight is the 1,420 damage that we blocked. You know what? If we hadn't died to the WZ-132, we would have probably got a steel wall in this game. And that's pretty much the only reason why you would want to play the T-54 lightweight over, for example, the RU-251 or even the WZ-132. And finally, just a quick look at the detailed report. This would have been a profit without a premium account and 24,000 with a premium account, as we didn't have to dip into too many of those wasted APCR rounds. But trust me, it is super important that you do take them in this vehicle, because otherwise you might find your ammunition completely futile in a tier 10 matchup. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed some more aggressive light tank gameplay. You guys seem to really enjoy the last video I put out in my RU-251, and really, light tanks do not get enough love in World of Tanks, and they're going to become especially relevant probably in the next few months when we see the line stretched up to tier 10. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And let me know in the comments, what is your favorite tier 8 light tank and why? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.